What's going on, my creator gente? I'm the host that loves you the most, Ozeal, and I want to welcome you once again to the Creator Factor. This is a place for us to vibe about the creator culture. It's a place to help elevate your creator factor so you can own your brand through entrepreneurship and community. And I'm excited because our guest today, ladies and gents, is a creative director. He's a speaker. He's a content creator who is passionate about helping creators master their branding so they could build influence and a positive impact on the world. He's worked with premium brands such as TypeForm, a really dope YouTube channel called Chillhop, which is actually one of my personal favorite YouTube channels, by the way. He's reporting live from sunny LA. Creator fam, let's welcome to the show my man, Alex Antolino in the house. What's going on, Alex?
Hey man, thanks for having me. I'm super excited, and thanks for everyone watching or hearing.
How's LA, bro? Because you're in sunny LA right now. I know
LA
you're
is very
visiting.
sunny right now, my man. LA is great. It's nice to be here.
Where you know what? Let me ask you this, man. What do you? Because are you residing in LA? Because I know you relocated, right?
I've been traveling a lot for the last 2-3 years.
Okay.
I've spent about a year here last year. I was working here. I'm now like traveling. I'm like spending a few months in Australia, then here,
Okay.
then
Sorry.
there. So this year is a bit of a digital nomad type of thing.
Yeah, doing the digital nomad thing. I love it, man. What do you love most about LA?
My friends. I do actually have a lot of friends here in
Yeah.
LA. And it's also like I'm originally from Barcelona, right? So it's a very
Hmm.
similar vibe at like 10x scale than what I'm used to in Barcelona with the sea and like people and like international arts and all of that. So
Yeah.
I feel like that is something that I really connect with.
You said Barcelona. What are your thoughts on Prime Energy being a sponsor of the football club
I
Barcelona?
saw
You
that.
saw that?
Well, yes, I did see that a few days ago, and I was
Crazy,
impressed.
huh?
I'm like, yeah, like everything that's going on with Prime is just mind blowing, and I think it's super important to be aware and like look at what they're doing because I think they're setting up the blueprint for like a lot of different creators to build like brands at that scale. I think it's impressive.
That's why I'm excited about this, Alex, because one of the things
Mhm.
that I've been, when I saw that, I'm like, man, again, it's just a testament of how content creators, are really building, scaling their brand on a global level. I mean, to be able to connect with a major, one of the most popular, biggest football clubs like Barcelona, it's just amazing just to see how, it's just a creator, two creators that just have a dream and now they landed a big deal. So again, it's just a testament how this content creator world is going, man. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
me too. It's super exciting.
Let's talk a little bit about your journey, my man, because I know that you were in film school and you've done a lot of things. As I mentioned, you were a former creative director for Typeform and worked with some pretty big YouTube channels, and you're all about helping brands engage like creators, which I love. I love that message, and that was the thing that attracted me the most
Oh
um,
wow, thanks.
as a content creator. Yeah, man. Let's talk about little Alex growing up. Before you got into film school, man, what was life like as a creative? And was there a moment when you were like, I'm definitely a creative type?
I no, honestly, like I never thought of myself as like the creative person, but I was always doing creative things, I guess.
Mm,
So I was like, I think one of the first things that I did like creatively was like I had this like pop rock band, like back in the days of
right
like
on.
Blank, 180, and then like Simple Plan, all of that. Like
I remember those
we
bands. Yeah,
used
dude.
to,
Yeah,
yeah, like we used to call them
yeah.
like burger punk. So it's like this type of like fast food, like, and I loved it
I
when I was
love
a kid. Like I was like, I love that shit. And
it.
so when I was a teenager, like me and my friends, I played piano for 10 years, and like
Yeah.
in the music school, I like connected with a couple other people who wanted like this type of music, wanted to make something together. So I had this like rock band, and like I remember like this was like my music side. I actually remember going to like the place where we used to like rent to like make music,
Mhm.
to record, like I think it was 5 tracks that we did like on a CD or something. And I would like go from home to like that place, carry my entire computer on a fucking like card, And so it was just such a like reaching for a dream moment with like my whole computer, like just going there, setting it up on that space and like recording the music. And then on the other side with my other friends from school, I was actually making movies, like short films. And I remember making like an action movie, and like it was back in the day where like we would record. Oh my god, I sound so old right now. Like it was like with like one of these handy like holiday cameras that we would
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then to edit, I didn't even have a computer at that time, because I was like, what, like 12 or like something like that. So
Uh-huh.
we would
Oh wow.
like, my friend's dad show us this trick where like if you would connect two VHS, you could
Mhm.
like press record and play on the other one, and then pause and then record again, and like you would like
Yeah.
edit like the video
Well,
like that. So I have that little movie. I think those are the first two experiences that I had.
what was it specifically about film that really intrigued you early on?
I think it was more like, it was this idea of creating um like cool shots and like cool sequences. It's like
Mm,
the craft of making these sequences that was really interesting to me.
mhm,
It took me a while, and I think when I went to film school, I think this accentuated. So my second like home movie that I did was like a bit of a thriller where we would create these atmospheres, and like it was like a bit of like an Agatha Christie type of thing where like all our families went to like this house, like we recorded, and like everyone was in the movie, and like people would die.
mm,
And the third one was like a horror. So I was like really interested in like the experience of watching the
mm.
movie more, I should say, than the storytelling. Like I was really
Okay.
drawn into like the aesthetics, the craft of the sensorial experience, if that makes sense. And so naturally, when I was in film school, we had to pick like a path. So I ended up picking cinematography. So I ended up focusing on like, yeah, like I was like my first thing that I like, my first job in the, let's say, creative industry was like as a DOP. So I started doing like cinematography for ads, TV ads and stuff like that. But very soon I was like, no, like I actually want to direct. um and so like I've been like on this journey going from cinematographer to like that like film director, like doing fashion films and working with all
Mhm.
these fashion brands, and then eventually trying to like get to the core, like wanting like more ownership of like the whole process and the pieces, so end up becoming the creative director. But I was always interested in like advertisement and doing
Okay.
these um for brands for some reason, I don't know why.
So you're like a creative renaissance man. You did it all, man. Wear all the hats, you know, and
I
which
think
I
it's
find
well,
yeah,
I think it's kind of a thing now. Like I think on the, especially in the career
yeah.
economy, you
So
have
true.
to do a lot of these things. And I do, yeah, I do like to do a lot of different things.
You've been in the branding, industry for over, a decade now, right? Doing a bunch of
That's
things
right.
and, yeah, how have you seen the role specifically as a creative director evolve over the years and especially as it relates to the new creator era?
The role of the creative director.
Yeah. And
Bro, I
as it
love this
relates to like the
question.
things that you've done, yeah, as a creator, correct. Yeah.
This is a great question. And I love talking about it. Not many people ask me about this. So my background's on film, and I
Mhm.
joined Typeform about like 8 years ago when the company was like 30 people. I was employee number 27. They're 500 now.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the company exploded, right? And I joined as a videographer.
mm,
And I had been running my studio, so I was used to like have teams and like manage teams and like do things with other people. So I didn't just want to make videos. I wanted to build something cool. I wanted to make something cool. Um,
mm,
and talking with the one of the both of the co-founders, Dave and Robert, I was like, we should like build a team and like start creating like cool videos and like start building an experience. They didn't have that at the time, and I ended up becoming their creative director after a year of being in the company. I love this question because it took me a while to convince them, actually, and even to convince myself. Like I
mm,
always knew that like this is something that I would be like, that I would enjoy and I could do great things in a position like that. but I didn't even know what the position was, because like my background came from film, so I knew about like what is a film director, was a script editor, like all these type, like the craft of like filmmaking, but I didn't know the marketing aspect or advertisement or even like design or anything like that. So I started as a creative director there, and many people didn't understand why I didn't have a design background. And actually, a few of the first, like I've done a lot of public speaking, like keynotes and like all over the
Mhm.
world in conferences and stuff. And like that was a question that I got a few times, especially at the beginning, where like, but wait, do you not have a design background? I'm like, how is that possible? And I'm like, well, in my mind, like, yes, I can work with designers and they're supposed to do their job. Like, but in my mind, like building a brand is not about design. Like design is a tool in the same way like design, like video is a tool, or like words, but like it's all about like the story and the experience. And so it kind of connected me with like these early days where I was trying to
Mhm.
create experiences
Experience.
for people watching, right? And in this case, now we're like in a completely different space, but like I'm trying to create experiences for customers or prospects. And I feel like now, like this, I didn't think about in these terms at that time, but I feel like now this is how I think about it. Like it's always been the same thing for me, but with different mediums. And that's why I loved changing spaces so much, and like like exploring all of this in different like spaces.
In your bio, you mentioned that that every interaction leaves a digital trace, and
Mhm.
building brands over time. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? And how can creators be more mindful of these types of interactions?
Oh man, I love your question. This is good. Okay, so here's the thing. If you like, if you're an asshole in life, in some occasions you can get away with it, right? So you go to the grocery store and you're a dick, and like the person there is like working, and like you're not nice, you don't smile, you don't say hello, like maybe karma takes it into consideration,
Mhm.
but in general, like you're gonna, like nothing's gonna change, right? Apparently that is not like this on the online world. Like
Mhm.
everything is recorded on the online world, and that's
Mhm.
when we see like someone blowing up, and then, or like someone going for like a president, running for president, and then like all this stuff from like 20 years ago starts popping in, right? So if you think as a brand of the sum of like all the interactions that people can have with your business, um you just need to be aware that like every single interaction online is being recorded and will stay there. And I like to say, like a lot of people ask me in Q&As or stuff like that, like when is it a good moment to start thinking about the brand? I'm like, you already, I don't know if you realize, but you already have a brand.
You're
So
breathing. You have a brand, right?
yeah, like, yeah, exactly. So the
Yeah.
sooner you start thinking about the brand, the better, because you have it regardless. And
Mhm.
so branding is defined as the process of managing
Mm.
that brand and building that brand in a conscious way. But like if you, even if you don't think about your brand, just because you're online, you're doing business or like building an audience, you have a brand, and that perception is going to influence how people see you, how people interact with you, eventually buy from you.
So that brand um, relatability, which you talk about, right? That's you're talking about just building a brand through communicating with your audience, right? That way you respond, everything that you portray. I mean, it's part of your brand, and I'm glad that you said that, because it is being documented online. And whether we see it, whether you're a B2B company or a personal brand, people get to know how you conduct yourself as a brand by those little interactions. So I love that part. Speaking of relatability, because when I was watching your talk, man, you talked about the seven principles, and you were kind of doing a breakdown on
Mm.
being relatable, and how now relatability is like an important creator factor, in this world of content creation. You know, how do you feel like relatability, right? Somebody can pick up a phone and record themselves, but where does like where do you see when creators are fighting this urge between enhancing the quality of content and then like being relatable, if that makes any sense, right? Because it's like, can we pick up the camera, but at what point do we say but quality also matters? And I feel like finding that sweet spot is always a challenge for especially aspiring content creators. Speak on that, Alex. Where do you see it? Relatability, quality of content? Where do we go?
Yeah. I think there's a comeback now on
Mm,
more like a bit of like a better produced contents, but like I'm seeing a bit of it on shorts and stuff like that.
okay.
Here's the thing: for many years, every brand's goal has been to look professional,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
well established, bigger than what it is, um, because that's how we transfer the authority, right? So the bigger the company, the more established, the more trust uh, would generate. In a world where like anyone can build a business, and actually some of these big business have been screwing up people over and over, I think this has changed over the time, and building trust is really the one thing that like every brand should strive.
Hmm.
How can you get people to trust you? And there's many ways to do that. One of them is doing a good job with like what you're doing, but it's not the only one. It's like caring about people, is like being
Mm,
consistent, so you're familiar, you're reliable, right? So relatability, and it's the ability to relate. And
mm,
there's I've been thinking a lot about this, but that's like the most obvious one is like phone footage. Like if you're gonna make short video, or
mm,
like you're gonna make video on the internet, and you have the option to like spend thousands of dollars on like a high production um value type of shoot, or like just pick up your phone. There's certain moments where like you actually want to have the ability to relate to the person you're talking to. And I always like giving this example. um like if you show up to a party where like you were never invited on the first place, and then you ring the doorbell, and like they open the door, and you're like, hey, what's up, this is Antolino. By the way, look at my Rolex, and like, do you want to tour
mhm.
in my Ferrari? People are gonna be, who the fuck are you first on the first place, and like, get out of
Right.
here,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Well, but this is exactly what every 90% of the brands are doing on their ads. This is
Mm,
exactly what every single brand will pay Facebook to tell their future customers, which in my mind makes
mm,
absolutely no sense. I love to say brands are like people, and this is a great example where you can apply this, right? Like something you would not do would not make sense for anyone in like real life. Don't do it as a brand. And this
mm,
is not me saying never run ads. This is me saying if you're gonna use ads to buy attention that you don't have right now, that's totally okay. But just think of the interaction you want to have with these people who don't know you yet. And sometimes like just recording with your phone is a good
yeah.
idea. Maybe just being natural and like being like one more is a good idea. We're used to brands. Here's the to finish this thought. Like we used to brands talking to. I think I talk a little bit on this video that you mentioned about this, but like we're used to talk to brands talking to people almost from like a pedestal, right? And the reason why we're used to that is because before, every type of marketing communication for most part was one directional, one to many, right? So you
Yeah.
would buy space on TV, you would buy space on the news, or like on the on newspaper, or like anywhere. And it was, you have the opportunity to like put a message, package in the way that you think is the most effective, and then just get exposed to like thousands, millions of people. But on the internet, that is not like this anymore. Like if you have a TikTok account, you'll very soon realize that the conversation is never one to many. It's actually one to many to many to one to like
Right.
multidimensional. And it's usually very rough because those people don't know you, therefore they don't care about you. So they'll be like very happy saying anything that crosses their mind because there are zero consequences. So I do think like in a world like that, in the online world, the things that brands are used to, like in like the 20 years ago, it
Yeah.
just don't work anymore. But we
Yeah.
still running ads as if it was in the 2000s. And I think that's something that brands can learn from creators, because creators don't do that. They understand where they are. That's why they grow.
Yeah. I see. It's like Facebook, but I always say it's me book, right? It's like, look at me. This is what I'm doing.
Totally.
you know. Let me ask you, as someone who loves like tech and innovation, man. How do you keep your creative juices going, because I see you're active. I see you like it's been really dope, man. Just seeing you. Like I remember when you really started getting this YouTube channel going, and you had about maybe 300-400 subscribers, and
Oh,
then yeah, I've known you for a minute, man. I mean, I was following you back then, and then now you're over, 1K, and just seeing your evolution grow and seeing you just stay really kind of current and just always being engaged with your content. Share with us, how do you stay afloat, man? And can you share with us any techniques or practices that you use to stay ahead of the curve and stay consistent with your content? Because I feel like a lot of creators are watching and listening. We struggle with that.
so you mean like how like keep consistency or
Right.
like just create like interesting stuff or like
Correct, correct. Because somebody could look at you and be like, "Oh man, you know what, man? Alex has been to film school. He's got the chops." For a lot of us, these are new skill sets that we're learning, right? We're learning how
yeah.
to edit, and I know for me, I'm not like great editor. Like I'm not. That's not my thing. But I love to talk. I love to share. But for creators that are really kind of struggling with the skill sets, like what's some advice that you've noticed that can help us become a little bit more, skilled in content creation?
So you know what? That's actually very funny. A lot of things that I learned at film school are useful and valid, like editing,
Yeah,
storytelling, all of that. But I actually have to unlearn also a lot of the things that I've been using for like a lot of my entire like professional life because they don't work anymore. Like,
interesting.
yeah, like I don't. Sometimes I'm like I need to force myself to like it's enough, which is your camera, it's enough. So actually one of the recent videos that I did on my YouTube
Mm,
channel, like I'm trying like I always try to think in systems and processes. Like for me, quote unquote, there's no value on making like one like super like great video that I don't know how to replicate or it'll take like too much like brain energy at the stage where I am
yeah.
right now. Like I would rather try to do something that does a little bit like not that great, but I can repeat over time because I'm doing like a lot of other things, not
Mhm.
just the content, right? So for me, like
Right.
systems are a very important thing. And the reason why I say this is because like one of the series that I'm trying to do, which is I'm trying to do like a little like of a journal of like how I'm building the things that I'm building because I think that's interesting for like people who are in a similar situation. Like I would appreciate to see this from other creators or entrepreneurs. And I try to record with my phone, and it's weird because like we have this camera that's like way like the iPhone 13 Pro, that is the one that I have, is
Mhm.
way more powerful than any of the video cameras that I used
Wow.
on
Yeah.
film school 15
Mhm.
years ago. And I sometimes I feel it's not enough. And I'm like, this makes absolutely no sense. And so I need to force myself to just record with my phone for long form, like it's a given for a short form. But this is one of the examples. Another thing I would say is like for me, like as I said, systems is super important.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need to like scale down ideas because like they take too much. Um,
So
I'm
having a
also in a
process to kinda scale that out as well, right?
yeah,
To strip it
yeah,
out, yeah.
yeah. Thinking this is something I like to like when even like when I mentor like or when I run teams, creative teams at companies. Um, it's a very fascinating transition that I've seen like every company go through where like like imagine you start a business and like you go grows a little bit, you hire a designer, two designers, copywriter, maybe you end up like having like 4 or 5 people, like video
Mhm.
person. Most of these companies will treat the brand as a like as an artisan, and this is very fascinating to see. So
Mm.
they will craft every asset and they will move on to the next one, craft another asset,
Mhm.
and then they have a landing page, they create the landing page. Oh, now we need to do any like emails campaign. It was Black Friday, okay, we'll create a campaign. And so like 2 or 3 years down the line, and I've seen like this with like every single company, you have this like kind of fascinating Frankenstein of a brand that's been created over the years. And the reason is because they did like it's like a little craft person there, like creating every
Mhm.
asset, right? And so one of the transitions I try to help brands do is like, how can we take this beautiful thing that you've created that's like very crafted and turn it into like industrialize it in a way, in a good way, right? Like how can we create systems and processes to go from this one thing that you did that's great, but like it took you a lot of time to actually create 10, 20 of them, right? And with less friction. And this is a process that's fascinating to me because like when it's executed and it works, people feel more free to do the things that they care about.
Hmm.
It's way more efficient for the business and stuff like that. So I try to think like that when it comes to my shorts and
Hmm.
my YouTube, my long form. What are the series that I can do
Hmm.
so I don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time, and we have like a pattern, something where like when I find something, let's do
Yeah.
10 of this and like test it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you said, systems and processes, and I know a lot, and I think you have like the gift of being a creative and then understanding that. Because for most creators, I know myself, struggle with the systems and processes, and I think that's where we kind of get burned out when we don't have a system to be able to capture ideas and to be able to execute and plan it out accordingly. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Let me ask you
I
this one.
have to I have
Go
to
on, go
say,
on, break
I'll
it down.
say this though. I'll say this. This one same thing that I just said that I take like it's very important for me in my process
Yeah.
might be the one thing now that's like getting on the way on me, like getting to like 5,000 or 10,000, for example. So
Okay.
but it's okay, like I don't like I'm not in a rush.
Okay.
Like I have a very mid long term vision for like most of the things that I do. So this is something important to like also mention. It's like systems are important, but while you're figuring out the system, you might not be figuring out the output. So it might take
Mm.
more, like if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So there's like these creators, the Mr. Beasts of the world, where like the era is like that they're trying,
Yeah.
like they're growing at like this exponential like scale. I don't think they had a fixed system when they're like starting blowing up, right? And that's why actually they blew up. So it really depends on what you want to do. For me,
Interesting.
it's like the mid long term game where I would rather not grow that much this year, but actually have like a healthy approach to it, and not like, because I'm trying to do this for like 10 years, right? So I'll get anywhere. Like I'm not stressed about it, and I'm like, okay, it's like maybe it takes a year, maybe it takes 3 years, but I know where I'm getting there. I'm like crushing my goals because like now I have this engine that's like on autopilot, and I can do like 10 other different things. So that to me is more important than actually like doing one video that like does like super well now.
I'm curious, man. So you're committed to the marathon, right? So,
Yes.
I mean, let us know. Speak on like what is your goal? Like what? I mean, I see you. You're in the trenches, doing the shorts, doing the YouTube channel. I know you have a goal right now. We're going to talk about that. But what's the vision for your content creation platform? What are you trying to do there?
So here's the thing. I've been at tech, and tech jobs are known by high salaries.
Right.
And mine was not different. But I decided to like give up to all of this
Mm,
and like focus on the creator economy, because I see so much opportunity in that space, and it's very early. So I'm like, I think I would rather give up on like those like perks and all of that from tech, which I think it's great. Like, and if it's for you, go do it. But for me, I'm like
mhm.
very like it's just natural in me. Like I've been doing this my whole life, but from a different perspective. And like now there's like all these kids doing like so well. I'm like, there's so much to learn from these
Yeah.
people. It's a completely different way of doing things. So I'm really passionate about it. And I'm like, I think this is the future of advertisement. I think this is the future of branding. Like,
Mm,
so I'm like, I would rather like take a pause for a year or two, reset the whole thing, and then get ready for like the next 10-year sprint. And like that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm like, I've been unlearning a lot of the things that I learned for the last 2 years, and now it's like resetting the whole thing. I don't think in 5 years we're gonna see like be doing advertisement with like big companies and all of that. It makes just, to me it just makes no sense. And
right.
so I've been feeling like this for the last 4 or 5 years, but I didn't know what was the next thing. But when I started like seeing creators and like working with creators, I'm like, oh, okay, this is the next thing. And you know how Feastables has been able to grow for
Mhm.
the last 2 years, and the way they market it, that's the way every company is going to be marketing in like
Mhm.
5 years, 10 years from now. That's my opinion. I may be wrong. I'm not here like trying to predict anything. This is just my pure
Oh, we're
personal
seeing it already,
opinion.
though, right, Alex? We're seeing it
I
already, though.
think we
It's
are,
happening.
yes. So that's why I'm taking such a bold move, and I'm like,
Yeah.
let me just figure this out. Because first, it's super exciting, and
Mhm.
second, I think like this is how like you're supposed to do advertisement. And there's huge companies like already doing this and growing so much, like nothing technology. They created this like phone. I think they're based in the UK. and they're trying to compete with Apple, right? And if you go check their YouTube channel, Nothing Technology, I think, or Nothing Technologies, it's like, how do you compete with Apple? Well, as a creator, and like connecting with people, being relatable, and like talking about the things that people want to talk
Mhm.
about, right? Not trying to be perfect. Like there's already like, I think Apple just crossed the 3 trillion valuation, which is the first company ever in the history of like hitting that number. It's insane. So how do you compete with that company? It's like almost seems like impossible. But there's a new way of doing things that I think it's easier for smaller brands to adopt, because the bigger the company, the bigger the structure and the organization. And don't get me wrong with what I'm gonna say, but like the older the people on leadership, and then it takes a lot for someone that's like 30 years in the industry, that they might be very used to some very specific way of doing things, to completely change and learn from someone that's like 20 years old. It takes a lot of inner battle with your ego to actually like shift things. And even if you get to that point, um changing the organization is very complicated the bigger the organization is.
Mm.
If you have like a small creative team of like 3 people, it's very simple to just hire a creator or two, and now half of your team is creators. But if you
Mhm.
have like a team of like 100 like creative professionals, how do you change that? It's different. So
Yeah.
I know, I think in my opinion, a lot of interesting things are going to happen the next 5 years. And I
Mm.
just want to be, you asked me about my goals, I just want to be one of the people who hopefully can help a lot of entrepreneurs and brands that see that, understand like how to get there.
Yeah.
Because I'm like in the
Yeah.
privileged position to be like in the middle. For some reason my life
Yeah.
ended up in this middle ground, where I'm like connected with a lot of creators and creator brands. And I'm like, I've been doing traditional branding and tech, and so I'm like in this privileged advantage point where I'm like
Right.
in the middle. So
Mhm.
I see a lot of, that's why I say brands should engage like creators, and
Yeah.
creators should build huge brands. And you can learn a lot from traditional brands like Apple and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm trying to bridge. What I'm doing, I'm actually bridging these two gaps, with all the brands that you mentioned, with the intro.
I believe that creators are the new entrepreneurs. I truly believe
Oh
that. I
yeah.
think we're seeing
Oh
that
hell yeah.
now.
Ask
You
Elon Musk
know?
that.
Yeah. Yeah. We're there. So let me ask you. I have two questions 'cause I know we're closing in on time. I have two questions for you. I can't let you go without asking you about the two-letter word. Uh, that
AI.
word. How how'd you know,
How do I
Alex?
know,
I mean, you're good. You're good at this. You've done this before. No, let me ask
bro?
you this. How what are your thoughts, brother? Like, what are your thoughts? How will AI impact specifically branding, creator branding moving
Okay,
forward?
I do have a strong opinion about this,
Let's
and
go. I like strong
I
opinions.
feel
Come on.
like 200% like strong about this. Like it'll be
Let's go. Let's
very
go. I have
challenging
200x. Let's
to
go, dude.
change
Let's
me.
go.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know we
To
don't have a lot
change
of time, but
me.
let's go, dude.
It's very simple. What is the one thing that you cannot replicate with AI?
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Got chopped
What
up.
is the one thing you cannot replicate with AI?
Soul, human.
Correct. That's exactly it. The human experience. So, what is the one thing that'll be more valuable the bigger and the better AI gets? The human experience. If you want to grow your brand with meaning, which you don't need to, by the way, it's not the only way. But if this is what you want to do, focus on the human experience. And there's a lot of creators, like that's why you want to work with a creator. And there's a lot of different types of creators, but there's certain creators that are irreplaceable. Like how can you replicate Cassie Neistat? How can you replicate Emma Chamberlain? Like there's creators that are not replaceable because they're about the human experience. So that's, for example, one of the reasons why I do not record videos in my room. It's easier. I
Mhm.
could just turn on the camera and like pop in like 5 videos in one day, and put like a schedule, one every week. Today I talk about creator skills. Tomorrow I talk about
Mhm.
CapCut, and like I might do this just to like put more volume out on my early stages, but I don't think that's the way to go for any like brand that wants to create a big impact. So for me, like I'm approaching is like, okay, maybe I can go out in the street and show a bar that I go
Yeah.
every morning, and
Yeah.
people might see my personal human experience and might
Mm.
relate to that. And I think a lot of creators maybe like they're not thinking in these terms, but they're doing this, and that's why they're doing so well, because the human experience will not be replicated. I think you cannot it's a different thing. So knowledge, it's a commodity.
Mm.
Like visuals, commodity. We've seen AI tools do car advertisement, and like just like that, like all of this is like, just don't waste your time, because why wait, unless that's what you want to do using AI, and then yeah, you go do it.
Yeah.
But if you want to do these things, I think the human experience is going to be huge. Live events, it
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
portraying the human experience for brands is like, how can you connect? And I think creators is it's just the way, because it's like word of mouth at scale, and that's
Mm.
what I think is going to be very valuable.
You cannot replace the human experience. I love that. Lastly, if there's one creator factor, Alex, one that every creator should learn, master, or at least understand, what would that be?
You asking me about a skill?
Yeah, one creator factor, skill.
Patience.
Mm.
I think it's patience. I think, yeah, you know what? And let me extend that to entrepreneurs. What the main problem that I see every single brand dealing with is like urgency. These ideas like, oh, for this quarter, right? Everything needs to happen in this quarter, or worst case scenario in this year. But I'm like, just patient. Like, just if you're doing the things that you have to do, and you have signals that you're in the right direction, just keep going. Like, many crazy stuff can happen in like a year or two, especially now with like all of these technological developments. Just be patient, because most of the times we'll stop. Have you seen, like, we've all seen these memes and like these graphs, like they stop here,
Hmm.
and then the graph was going to go like exponential.
Yeah.
That's like lack
Yeah.
of patience. And I think that's for any creator, we're all like trying to like have like a viral video and like blow up, and like, why am I not at like 100K? And I get it, there's a lot of pressure, but patience and just like feel good with yourself, it's the foundation of anything, in my opinion. So I would say that.
AlexAntolino.com. Go follow Alex, my man, on IG and on his YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Alex is on a
Yes,
mission, y'all. He's on a mission to get 4,000 watch time hours by his birthday, July
that's
13th. So
correct.
let's go ahead and make that happen. Let's go. Let's go. And of course, let's help him achieve his goals. And Alex, I'm a fan, brother. I'm a fan of all your videos. I saw the video that you did with Christo, went
Yes.
down the rabbit hole. I was like, I like his energy. I like his philosophy. I mean, everything that you preach, you represent, you embody. Went down the rabbit hole of all your YouTube channels, and there was something, and I couldn't pinpoint exactly what was it about your YouTube videos that I really enjoyed, but maybe it was because you were relatable, and there was no. I just really liked your delivery, man. I just felt like you were very humble and just willing to help and educate, and of course be a part of this creator community, but be as a teacher, and not just as a creator, but really trying to teach and really trying to serve the creator community. And that message really resonated with me. So I want to thank you, because I reached out to you as really with no relationship, and you were like, let's do it, man. I'm here to support. So thank you, brother, for being a part of the Creator Factor show, and
Thank you
keep on
so much
doing
for
everything,
having
brother.
me. You're a legend, man. Like, I really, all of this means a lot to me, and like I really appreciate it. And I have to say, great questions. Really good questions. Thank you.